Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. This is the second webinar for this winter. The second webinar hosted by the CRESEM laboratory from the University of Perpignan. My name is Laurent Botti. I am Associate Professor in Tourism Management, and I will be the moderator this afternoon. So for this webinar, I believe that the program is very interesting because we are here with Professor Stanislav Ivanov on the topic on economic aspects of automation and robotics in tourism and hospitality. So Stan is a professor in tourism economics and management and vice rector in charge of research, I think, in VARNA University of Management. And Professor Ivanov is also the director of the Zangador Research Institute. So Stan, you are the founder and the editor-in-chief of two academic journals, European Journal of Tourism Research, indexed in Scopus and Web of Science, and Robonomics, the Journal of the Automated Economy. Additionally, you serve on the editorial board of many journals, for example, International Journal of Hospitality Management. So you authored many publications on hotel marketing, pricing, revenue management, but also destination marketing and management. And today, it's your expertise concerning robots, artificial intelligence, and service automation, I think RAISA, in the tourism and hospitality field that you will share with us. To talk about this field, you will present us two papers. I think first a book chapter from a collective book edited by Emerald in 2019. And the title of this book chapter is Economic Fundamentals of the Use of Robots, Artificial Intelligence, and Service Automation in Travel, Tourism, and Hospitality. And you will present us an article which title is Ultimate Transformation: How Will Automation Technologies Disrupt the Travel, Tourism, and Hospitality Industries? So if you have questions in the group, you can use the chat box to leave it. And I think that Professor Ivanov may answer your question, but after the presentation. So Stan, if everything is okay for you, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Laurent. Let me just share the screen. Okay, I suppose you see the presentation.
Yes, it's perfect.
It's perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for this invitation. It is an honor to participate in this seminar. I will talk about the economics of automation technologies in tourism and hospitality because, well, this is my passion for the last 8 years. But not only because of this. I come to the academia from the business. So I used to be marketing manager of a travel agency before going to the academia. That's why my way of thinking is quite pragmatic, and which, by the way, editors do not always like. And also what we see is that there's a huge research on technologies in tourism and hospitality, but much of this research practically overlooks the economic side of these technologies. Is it worth investing in these technologies? Is it not worth investing? Because what we see is that that there's a huge research on technologies in tourism, probably in the more than 30 years now, but we still continue to discuss the same things. That technologies are important, that they will improve operations, that they will that they will improve customer satisfaction, etc., etc. However, it is the simple cost-benefit analysis that will determine whether tourism and hospitality companies will adopt these technologies or not. We may have fantastic technologies, but if the owners of companies do not see that these technologies improve their performance, in different ways, in different directions, then forget about these technologies. The fact that customers require that they use these technologies means nothing. The tourists may want to use the technologies, but the decisions about the investments are taken by the owners and managers of tourist companies. That's why this is extremely important. Now, you heard about me, professor and vice rector. VARNA University of Management, this is a small private university in Bulgaria. In VARNA, just 500 kilometers south of Ukraine, where unfortunately we have a war right now. Zangador Research Institute is a small private research institute. IES is a member of IES, which is the oldest tourism research organization in the world in field of tourism, and a member of IFIT, which is the largest research organization in field of information technologies in tourism. So you heard about these two journals that I founded and co-edited, and Nikolai and Wohan edited one special issue of tourism economics a few years ago. And also I serve as coordinating editor for and Robotics for the International Journal of Hospitality Management. Please submit your best papers to these three fantastic journals. So what we'll talk will be coming largely from this book, Robots, Artificial Intelligence and Service Automation in Travel, Tourism and Hospitality, or in short, Raisa. Why Raisa? Because Raisa is a fantastic Slavonic female name. So it sounds quite sexy, and this is the reaction of ladies when they see the book, and this is the reaction of robots, so please get stay. Now, what I will talk will be some introduction about these technologies. First, we need to know what these technologies are and some key terms. Then about the current application of RACE technologies in tourism and hospitality, the economic side, and the future skills of travel, tourism and hospitality employees, because this is directly related with the economic side. So the next slides, they will show, they will not be quite academic, they will show the background of all these automation technologies, and they will show what is the scope of these technologies and what they can do with these. So robots have arrived, and when we think about robots in tourism industry, we should not think about these cute robots like R2D2, C3PO, and BB-8. These are fantastic for Hollywood and for Disney, especially now, but not for. But this is not the reality. Also, other people, they are quite afraid of robots, and they think that when robots that robots will become conscious, they will kill us, etc. The Terminator scenario, forget about it. It is fantastic for Hollywood. It takes a lot of money from the French pockets, but this is not going to happen anytime soon. And of course, this is the reality. So people accuse AI that it will take over the world, but this is the current level of artificial intelligence, so that it can mislabel cats for dogs. And we have a group of people who think that robots will become conscious, they will merge with people. So this is the transhumanist movement. Of course, this is science fiction, probably 50 years in the future, but not but probably not in our lifetime. So when we talk about RACE technologies, we talk about these technologies: industrial robots, like these ones producing cars in an automated factory. And if we make some economic analysis, we will find that it is not the immigrants that are taking the jobs of the blue-collar American workers, but it is the industrial robots. So practically, the previous presidential administration in the US had to erect the Great Robotic Wall rather than the Great Mexican Wall. And we have robots that are used for warehousing and supply and logistics, like this one by Kiva Robots by Amazon, or they can be used in agriculture. More modern version of agricultural robots are practically drones that go, they check the quality of the soil, whether the harvest is ripe, etc. We have autonomous vehicles. This will be a huge disruptor in the tourism industry, transportation in general. And Google Waymo is Waymo is the company owned by Google that is launching a paid taxi service in San Francisco in a few weeks. Also, we have robots that are used in medicine, like this one. Of course, they are not performing the operations by themselves, but they support the surgeons. This is the dream of every single general in the world, to bomb the enemy without sending ground troops on spot. And these are currently widely used on Ukrainian territory by both sides. This is the dream of every single husband in the world. A robotic vacuum cleaner, not to be tortured by the wife to clean at home, but to outsource this activity to the robot. Also, we can have robots for swimming pools, gardens. The photo you see to the left for the robotic lawnmower, I made it in a monastery in Italy, so that you can see that even the Catholic Church starts to invest in robotic technologies. So this is also a religiously correct activity. Also, we have robots used as guards. Of course, they will not arrest you, but they have cameras. They can recognize weapons. They will report you to the human guards. We have robots for parcel delivery. This is currently the biggest competition among parcel delivery companies like Amazon or Alibaba. It's about the last mile delivery. This is the delivery between the last warehouse where the parcel is located to the home of the customer. It can be with such wheeled robots or with delivery drones. Still expensive. I'm sure this is far into the future in Bulgaria, because such a robot will probably be stolen 15 minutes after its introduction on the streets here. But this is the competition currently. Also, robots can be used for education, for entertainment. By the way, my university is currently negotiating with suppliers that we buy one robot, not now a robot that you see, but a bigger one that we will be using for training in our facilities, in the restaurant. Also, we have robots for provision of information in service industries. Artificial intelligence is used for legal cases to sift through thousands of potential legal cases. Or in search engines, when you if you search something in France, or if I search it in Bulgaria, we will have different search results. Or in e-commerce, when we buy something from Amazon, miraculously we start receiving recommendations for similar products of complementary products that are used in together with our purchase. We can also have chatbots in social media so that they communicate. This is the chatbot that I created for the European Journal of Tourism Research. However, I turned it off a few months ago because the platform that I used it for its creation changed its pricing rules, which I didn't like. Also, we can have virtual or artificial humans or digital humans. This is like chatbots on steroids. So it is a chatbot, but instead of typing, you communicate with it verbally. So it is equipped with natural language processing. We also have algorithms that trade on the stock exchanges and perform financial operations autonomously without human intervention. We have voice-activated devices. In journalism, you can have journalists that read the news, which are computer-generated, rather than having a real human reading the news. And of course, if students do not study, they will be replaced as well, because robots can serve as smart looking and attentive robotic students. This is, by the way, an actual photo of a robot from the IFID conference in 2019. So it was a robotic student attending there and listening to the presentations. We also have robots that can be used for religious purposes instead of priests to read from the respective holy book. And on the other extreme, we can have robots that can be used for sexual services, male robots, female robots. The strength of these robots is that you can adjust them. Male robots always can, female robots never have headaches. So yeah. Key terms. So this was just an overview of these technologies. So what is artificial intelligence? Because in order to understand the economic side of AI and robotics technologies, we need to know the basic terms. Artificial intelligence was, as a term, was coined by John McCarthy in 1956, and it is the computer system's ability to correctly interpret external data, to learn from such data, and to use those learnings to achieve specific goals, tasks, through flexible adaptation. So the key things here are, first, we talk about the computer system. Its ability to correctly interpret external data. This means that we have data that comes from the external environment for the system. This does it is the external environment for the system. It can be the same computer if we talk about hotel booking data, but it is external for this system. It needs to interpret this internal data. So it has some algorithms to understand what this data is about. To learn from such data, it means that when there are changes in the data, it can it understands what these changes are and has some learning capabilities, and to use those learnings to achieve specific goals and tasks. This means that the behavior of the AI system is goal-oriented. It is task-oriented. So there's a final goal. For example, to serve, to deliver room service, to check in the guests, to identify patterns in the booking data, etc. Through flexible adaptation. This means that the system changes its output on the basis of the input and the patterns in this input. Computer programs do not actually have human intelligence, but they exhibit intelligent behavior. So this is what we see. We see input, output. We see the output. We see the behavior of the system, but this does not mean that by itself the computer thinks. The computer doesn't think. The computer just calculates. We have three types of artificial intelligence. Artificial narrow intelligence. This is the current state of development of AI. And this means computer programs that can be used in a specific field. And in this field, this AI performs much better than humans. However, we cannot use these programs, this AI, in another field because it just does not have the algorithms to perform there. For example, we can use it to identify tumors on magnetic resonance imaging scans of human brains, plagias, but we cannot use it to identify patterns in booking data. So it is highly specialized. This is not the case with the artificial general intelligence or strong intelligence. It is close to human level intelligence, and it can successfully outperform humans in several fields. I would say that artificial general intelligence, this will be like as if you communicate to a human. So there will be little this will be the human level of intelligence, and it will be difficult to distinguish whether this is AI or not. However, this does not the AGI or artificial general intelligence, strong AI, does not mean that it is much better than humans in every single instance. We have not reached that level. Probably we will reach it within the next 10, 20 years. I don't know. But yeah, but we have not reached that level yet. Artificial superintelligence, this is conscious, self-aware AI that is better than humans in all fields. So for the moment, this type of AI is only within science fiction, in Hollywood movies, in books. It is not a reality. if it comes to reality, probably we don't need to worry, because it will be either extremely beneficial to humans, or it will be extremely harmful to us. So in either case, we don't need to worry. If it is harmful, it will be for a few seconds. After that, we don't need to worry. So in travel tourism and hospitality, we have narrow AI, and it is used for image and face recognition and border controls, video surveillance, autonomous vehicles, service robots, speech recognition, digital assistants, chatbots, automated pricing decisions and revenue management, one of my favorite applications, for sentiment analysis of customer reviews, etc. Everywhere where we have data, and when the software needs to learn from this data in order to have some output. Now, what is a robot? It is an actuated mechanism, programmable in 2 or more axes with a degree of autonomy, moving within its environment to perform intended tasks. This is the classic definition by the International Organization for Standardization. What does this mean? First, we talk about the mechanism. So it is something real, something material, something you can touch, you can hug, you can crash if you want. But it is mechanism. Unlike artificial intelligence, which will, in most cases will be just a computer program. Also, it is actuated. This means that it can influence the environment. So it has actuators through which it can influence the environment, like hands, like screens, like motor, like wheels, etc. Programmable, it means that you can change the programming of this mechanism in 2 or more axes. It means that it has some level of mobility and movement. With a degree of autonomy, it means that it can take some of the decisions by itself. For example, this is a pepper robot. By the way, it was originally developed in France by Aldebaran Robotics, which was later bought by SoftBank Robotics, a Japanese company. But still, the European headquarters of SoftBank Robotics is France for renting these robots. I think they are renting them now rather than selling. And if you look at this robot will face you with its eyes, with its sensors. They are not eyes, they're with its sensors, and it will move its head according to your movements. It will look at you in the eyes, and it will provide you with information by itself. So it takes decisions by itself. So this is autonomy, moving within its environment, mobility, to perform intended tasks. Again, we talk about goal orientation of this one. So it is not just a robot that sits there and does something. It has some useful actions. So the term robot was firstly introduced in 1920 by Karol Čapek. And I would say that this is one of the 2 most popular Slavonic words, because it comes from rob, which is slave, and rabota, which is work. So robot means slave labor. The other very popular Slavonic word is bistro, which comes from the Russian word bystro, which means fast. Very popular in as a type of F&B outlet in France. So we can have 2 types of robots: industrial service robots. Industrial robots were introduced more than 60 years ago, and they are now widely implemented in many countries. In service robots, in field of tourism, they're used for information provision, like receptionists, concierges, hosts, curators, guides, etc. For cleaning, for transporting items, for example, room service delivery, for entertainment, disinfection of premises. This is what we saw now with the COVID-19 pandemic, when we had many robots that were introduced by different companies. Disinfection of, we mentioned about the disinfection of premises, waiters in restaurants, cooks, guards, cutting the grass, etc. As we see, robots are widely used for repetitive tasks, dirty, dull, dangerous, something that people do not always want to deal with. And finally, service automation. This is the SA in the RAISA abbreviation. This includes a wide variety of self-service technologies, which are defined as technological interfaces that enable customers to provide a service independent of direct service involvement. Now, the difference between robots, artificial intelligence, and service automation is that AI is the general technology. It's not the product. Chatbot may be the product. Intelligent automation may be the product, or AI can be used in a robot. But service automation, the robot is material, while service automation is also material, but it can also be also in a digital format. But it does not necessarily have artificial intelligence. It doesn't need to have learning capabilities. So it is the simplest option of these two types of technologies. So what does this include? Check-in or information kiosks at hotels and airports, mobile check-in applications, ticket machines, vending machines, baggage drop-off counters, automated biometric fingerprint scanners at airports, self-ordering kiosks, conveyor belts in restaurants, etc. So you see wide variety of technological interfaces that do not necessarily need artificial intelligence. From this, as I see, only the biometric fingerprint scanners, they do need some AI in order to read, to identify whether your fingerprints or your face matches the face that is recorded on the photo on your in your passport. But the rest they don't need. So what's the current application of these technologies in tourism and hospitality? Just to see how they look like mobile, we can have mobile applications for opening and closing the doors. This is important to know that if we want to invest in such technologies, it's not only the mobile application. We need to change the locks of every single room in the hotel. So mobile application may be several tens of thousands of euros, but changing the locks will be probably triple this amount of money. So this is very important to understand what is the economics of all these technologies and how they look like. Or we can have digital receptionists like this company, DG Eva, a Bulgarian company. I feel obliged to promote it. Or kiosks. We can have different types of kiosks. Some can be very large, the ones to the right. Others can be just large tablets. The ones to the right will be probably several thousand euros. The one to the left is less than 200 euros. So we can have different options. Or we can have robots as concierges. And I want to show you a video. I know that we have a lot of time, so I'll show you a video. This is a few months ago. I went to a hotel in Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria, and I booked that hotel because it has a room service delivery robot. So I deliberately selected the hotel because of this one. And I ordered a drink, and I followed the robot. So it will go to my room. I'm not sure, do you hear the sound of the video? No, okay, no worries. What the robot says is it provides some promotional information about the hotel, what services it has, that we can order room service from, what is the period of the options to order room service. So you see that the robot goes to the lift and it stays in front of the lift. There's nobody there besides me and the robot. And the robot communicates with the lift. Nobody is pressing the button. So you have to remember, if you want to use robots in your hotel, the robots have to communicate with the different technologies that you have, which means additional costs for you. So I entered the room with the robot. So again, the robot communicated with the lift and it pressed, and the lift and it pressed 7. So it didn't physically, it just communicated. Yeah, you can see me there with a mask because we still had masks in the hotels. Yeah, it currently says that we can order room service from this time to that time. So I'm going back to the room because I need to pick up the phone. When the robot goes to the hotel, goes to the in front of the room, it connects to the system, the communication system of the hotel. It rings. Yeah, I'm kneeling here because I'm making photos which I can use in future presentations. I prefer to use my own photos in order not to depend on copyrights of other people. Yeah, this is for the photo. Yeah, I made many photos of this and many videos. So I'm going back to the room. So you see, there's an obstacle, a cart in the corridor. So the robot passed by it. So I go back to the in the room. It will need to it will call my my phone there. Yeah, you can see you can see the room and the untidy bed.
Stan, it was a real obstacle, or you put it on
No, it was a real obstacle. It was a real obstacle. The housekeepers were preparing the room in front of mine, opposite mine. Yeah, you can see the other cart there. So I opened, delivery arrived. I had to press open. Yeah, I took the juice. Yeah, it was iced tea. The robot currently says, "You are the most amazing person in the whole universe." Of course, the robot says this to everyone. That's for sure. There's no personalization, but it's kind of nice. So I pressed close, and then the robot goes automatically there. Now you have to remember that this robot, you see the limitations probably. You can't put hot dishes there. You can put only packaged products there. And such a robot is at the price, including maintenance, etc., and insurance, something within the range of 20,000 euros. So you have to be you have to know how to make the calculations. Then we have some hotels like Henna Hotel that most of the front of house operations were automated, but it opened its doors in March 2015, but in January 2019, it turned off half of its robots because practically they created more work for the human employees rather than alleviated them from work. And what happened was that my friends, they know how much I love the robots, so they posted this on my Facebook wall. And because they thought that they will persuade me that robots are not going to take our jobs, and I told them, thank you, you just helped me create one slide in my lecture on racer technologies, because yeah, you see these are just part of the things possible. But if you look at which robots Henna Hotel turned off, you see that these are robots which perform tasks that people usually do not consider as appropriate for robotization. Also, we can have digital menus in McDonald's. I suppose we have used such kiosks. They started to be widely used. Or we can have mobile applications. So instead of calling, you can use them. Or conveyor belt restaurants or drones for delivering food. So instead of sending bombs, it will send food bombs. Well, but still drones. The technology is the same. Also, we can have such types of robots. This is a robot restaurant in China. You go there with a mobile application. You sit and you order with your mobile application. I think they will need to put also, you need to put also the seat where you are. The people put the food on the robots, and it goes to to the table, people pick it up. Now, what's important here? You have to adjust the facilities of the restaurant in order to have such types of robots. And you see, these robots, they are much cheaper and much smaller than the other one that we saw in on the previous slides for room service delivery. These robots, they maneuver in a controlled environment. And when you invest in the building, in the facilities, then you can use a cheaper robot. And you can have robots for entertainment or for delivering items in the restaurant, or you can have automated restaurants like this Spice restaurant in Boston, or for telepresence, so that someone with a 5G or 6G can connect to a robot instead of traveling there. So this is for avatar tourism, which will be, by the way, a big deal in the future. And we have meetings and events. This is a robotic bar on a cruise ship. So it is practically two robotic hands by KUKA Robots, a German manufacturing company, that are programmed to make cocktails. You order. I suppose you are not hearing the sound here either. Okay. There is music because this is a real video from a real, yeah. So this is how you go, how you order, and what you can, yeah. And then you can see when, where your order goes, and yeah, etc. So you have a robotic bartender. Yeah, you can have automated ticket machines. This is widely used everywhere. For airports and transport stations, we can have biometric automated gates, like this one at Gatwick Airport in the UK. We can have mobile application for urban transport, such kiosks for travel agencies and tourist information centers. For museum and galleries, we can have robotic curators that provide information. We can have augmented reality or virtual reality, and digital assistants where you can buy stuff. This, by the way, will be quite huge in the future, and something that is important will be the default settings of all these voice-activated devices. For example, if you buy Echo Dot with Alexa software, which will be the applications that will be there. It is the same like when you buy a mobile phone, which are the applications that go directly with your mobile phone. And if you are a restaurant chain, would you like your application for booking, for online booking to go with the default settings of this voice activated device? Probably you won't, because this will expand your market. Also, chatbots, which can be travel agency or for a whole city like Plovdiv City Concierge, or for car rental. When we have for Zipcar, their model is to, you don't need to meet people, you just book through a mobile application. Then you find a car with a mobile application. You unlock it, drive, and return it either with the app or with a Zipcar. So you don't need to meet people. You saw what are these different technologies and how they can be used in tourism and hospitality. And this is my personal slogan: in the robots we trust. This is because more and more automation technologies will enter not only tourism industry, but every part of our lives. And if you think that these technologies are just curiosity, you're wrong. In 2016, the National Science and Technology Council in the US, together with the presidential administration of the Obama administration in the US, published a series of reports for preparing the US economy for the advent of artificial intelligence and automation technologies. They say that by the end of 2030, the US economy will be largely based on AI and automation. And in 2017, OECD published this report, The Next Production Revolution, which is it is like a blueprint what is going to happen within the next 20 years. It's really recommended. I think it's available free of charge on their website. Now, this was a necessary introduction to understand the wide scope of all these technologies, how they can be used. You see that some of these, they're quite simple, just a simple basic mobile application, or one kiosk, a tablet. Others are very complex, like a room service delivery robot. We think that it is quite simple, but it's not, because it needs to maneuver, it needs to communicate with the building, with the different technologies in the building. It needs to identify obstacles on its path and to maneuver. So some of these technologies are very cheap, others are extremely expensive, but all of them, they have something in common. They replace human labor. They can be used to implement tasks instead of humans. Now, what are the economic aspects of RISA technologies? Here, I will present you the economic framework of RISA adoption in travel, tourism, and hospitality, which is presented in one of the two papers that I sent you. So this is the whole framework, but because it is very, very large, I split it into two parts. The first part, the upper part of the framework, shows the companies, shows the tourism sector. We have the demand for travel, tourism, and hospitality products. TTH stands for travel, tourism, and hospitality, and these are the customers. We have our tourism company, and we have its competitors. Within the company, we have different business processes, which are marketing, operations, human resources, finance. These are the four functional areas of every single organization. If the demand customers, they influence the operation, they influence the business processes in our company through different mechanisms, through the willingness to pay. Will they be willing to pay for robot delivered services or not? For the perceived service quality, what they think about the quality of automated services, or through the service process participation. Do they want that some tasks which previously human employees were implementing to be transferred to them? If the same things happen in our competitors, if we perform better than our competitors, this improves our competitiveness, which ends our financial performance. So we will have greater revenues. We'll keep costs under control. We will have greater profitability, and the different better liquidity and the different financial measures. However, in order to decide whether to invest in these technologies, we need to implement cost-benefit analysis. You will see this on the next slides. Investing, when we make the decision, we have when we make the decision, we will choose whether to invest in human employees or to invest in the RISA technologies. If we decide to invest in RISA technologies, so we will buy or rent a robot or kiosk or something else, then we create demand for RISA technologies. So that's why the lower part of the framework presents the production markets, the factor markets. So we create demand for RISA technologies. But this demand for RISA technologies faces the supply of RISA technologies, which is characterized not only by the number of different robots that are available, but also what are the technical characteristics of these technologies offered on the market. What are the required user skills? Do you need a PhD degree in AI and robotics in order to operate a room service delivery robot? If you need such a degree, forget about implementation of such robots in hotels. Robots that will be used by hotels, by restaurants, they should be as simple to use as possible. Training the employees will need to take not more than 10 minutes, because people that work there, they don't have PhD degrees in robotics. But also the price is very important, because when we have decreasing the prices of these technologies, something that we see in the last 20 years, this contributes heavily to their adoption in the tourism sector. Now, the company may decide, instead of research technologies, to use human employees in its operations. So, if this decision means that the company creates demand for human employees on the labor market, which faces the supply of human employees in terms of number. Are there sufficient number of people who are willing to work in the tourism sector? What are their skills, training, education, and what are the wages they request? What I can the two markets for human employees, the labor market and the racer market, they have mutual influences. For example, we need to consider what are the skills of potential human employees and the current as well, and what are the required user skills for these technologies, and also the wages. Sometimes in Bulgaria, because of the very low wages in the hospitality sector, it's very difficult to convince companies from the tourism sector to invest in automation technologies. However, the lack of sufficient employees because of the pandemic, because many people, because of the pandemic, they decided to leave tourism. But the lack of sufficient employees forces companies to use such technologies. But what I can tell you is that in the long term, wages always go up. Prices of research technologies go down, or if they go up, but their technical capabilities increase much more than the prices. So the relationship between human employees and research technologies is a relation of substitution versus enhancement, which we will see on the next one. And there are different factors that influence this relationship, like the relative productivity of human employees and automation technologies, the marginal rate of substitution. How many kiosks do you need in order to provide a 24/7 reception? One. How many employees do you need in order to provide a 24/7 reception? Practically 7, because you need 5 employees to cover 168 hours per week, plus 2 other employees to cover the leave of the employees who are not on work. So if you want a 24/7 open reception, you need 7 human employees, but only 1 kiosk. What are the total fixed, variable, average, marginal costs of using these technologies? Economies of scale. Economies of scale. This is the experience. The more you use particular technologies, the more efficient you become in using it. The economies of scale. A small hotel with 20 rooms does not have any reason to use a room service robot, while large hotels you need. For research technologies, you do need scale. You do need rooms. So 5 rooms you either automate everything or nothing. Partial automation will not be feasible there. The service capacity, automation of tasks versus automation of jobs, de-skilling versus upskilling of jobs, things that I will mention in a while. So this is the overall framework. We have the demand, we have the supply, we have the different processes within the company. And we have the factor markets and the creation of demand for eraser technologies for human inputs, which face the supply of eraser technologies and human inputs. Now, what about the cost-benefit analysis? The cost-benefit analysis needs to be implemented always. However, it will be specific for every piece of technology and for every single company. So here, I will just outline the main directions of the impacts. They can be financial benefits, non-financial benefits, financial costs, non-financial costs. And the directions will be society, marketing, operations, human resource management, and finance. These are practically the business processes within the organization. Now, what are the benefits of using eraser technologies? Why should they be adopted? Because of different reasons. And the first one, these are the advantages of eraser technologies compared to human inputs from the perspective of the tourism companies. So eraser technologies, they could work 24/7. How many hours can a human work? Yeah, 40 hours legally in Bulgaria, 80 hours if you are an academic, because we work double time. And you can, if you are a consultant in one of the big companies, probably you work 100 hours a week, but for how much time? How many weeks? After that, 100 hours a week. After 2 weeks, no human. But for the technology, as long as it has electricity, no problem. Eraser technologies, they could implement various tasks and expand their scope with software and hardware upgrades. Very important. You need a new language on the kiosk. Just install it. In 5 minutes, the kiosk can speak Chinese. How much time would you need in order to learn 200 words in Chinese? Well, for me, probably it will be 1 year. I will learn, but I will also forget. So I will need a year to do this. Also, these technologies, they could provide constant and improving quality of their work. Every time the service is the same. Or they could fulfill their work correctly and in a timely manner. How many times you need to repeat to the human employee to finish the work? Several times a week. Eraser technologies, also they could do routine work repeatedly. Very important. So you can have a robot that flips burgers in McDonald's. The robot can do it day after day, week after week. How many days can you do this without starting losing brain cells? 1 day, 2 days, 5 days. If I do this in the house in the summer, that's fine for me. With the family, with beer, with friends, etc. That's fine. But this is not routine work. It's different story. But to do this 8 hours a day, that's degrading. But also, eraser technologies, they do not complain. They do not get ill, go on strikes, spread rumors, discriminate, quit their job without notice, show negative emotions, show from work, and all these fantastic human qualities that create nightmares for human resource management. And do you know why we don't have strikes on Star Wars? Because every strike of human employees is a pathway towards their substitution by automation technologies. So every time people strike, employees strike, this means that the owners and managers start thinking about their substitution. I know that this is a politically incorrect way to say this, but think about this. What are the positive impacts? Labor cost savings, because automation technologies, they work 24/7, can serve numerous customers simultaneously, etc. Increased sales because of customers' curiosity in seeing the robots. I went to that hotel because of the robot there. No robot, I wouldn't probably stay in the hotel. Operations, easier scheduling and planning of operations, because these robots, these technologies, they work 24/7. They don't get ill, complaints, short form work, etc. You know that in the morning, the robot will not have a headache. It will work. They would save employees time for performing 3D, which is dirty, though dangerous, and repetitive tasks, which could be used for other activities, for more revenue generating and creative activities. So instead of someone bringing the food bringing the orders to the room 20 times a day, you just send the robot. But the time that is saved from this can be used for something else. Improved environmental sustainability of operations, like reduced use of resources. Like if you have movement detector sensors in the corridors, so that the lights are initially dim if there's no movement, but when the sensors detect movement, then the luminosity increases. So you save on costs, electricity. From a marketing perspective, RACER technologies, they lead to increased role of the customer in the service delivery system. So it is transformed into a consumer. It is for co-creation of value. RACER technologies, they can be used for automated pricing, personalized pricing, marketing automation, predictive analytics, better forecasts. Here we have, this is the dream, personalized pricing. This is the dream of marketing managers, so that this is the perfect price discrimination, so that everyone pays the price, the maximum price he or she can afford. But we have to be very careful, because in many countries, including Bulgaria, this is illegal. Also, the company would boast positive word of mouth due to an image of innovative high-tech company. Also, automation technologies, they could be used to enhance the perceived service quality, because they can make the process interactive, and because they can communicate in different languages, create value for the customers, etc. From a human resource point of view, these technologies, they currently enhance rather than replace employees, because they are not, you don't have these high technological capabilities. They also solve problems with hiring and firing employees, especially the seasonal ones. How do you hire a robot? You turn it on. How do you fire it? You turn it off. That's it. But now imagine hiring and firing a person in France. Think about the bureaucracy and the paperwork that needs to be implemented. RACER technologies, they can be used to create decent work environment for humans. This is one fantastic article in Annals, not written by me, but good colleagues from the university in Surrey. And I strongly recommend it. Probably it has the best title I have ever seen. Sometimes these RACER technologies, they would require reorganization of companies and the communication links between them, which is also a positive impact. Now, why should RACER technologies be avoided? First, because of their disadvantages. The disadvantages compared to human employees, they lack personal approach. You saw the robotic bartender prepares the cocktail always as per the recipe. You can't tell, put a little bit more vodka there. A little bit means nothing to the robot. It's a fuzzy expression. So it won't understand what you need, what you want. Robots can orientate in structured situations, which means that if, for example, the corridors in the hotel were quite cluttered, then with different things, different items, probably the robot will not be able to move around. And also they lack creativity. The negative impacts from a financial point of view, huge financial costs for acquisition, installation, maintenance, robot software update, creating robot-friendly facilities. The robot needs to communicate with the different technologies in the hotel. For upskilling human employees, insurance costs for damages caused by and on robots. You have to remember, we have insurance damages caused by robots because robots have autonomy. They take autonomous decisions. So if the room service robot you saw passes over my feet, then this is a damage caused by the robot. So who will be liable here? It's quite a fuzzy responsibility. This is one of the main challenges: the legal responsibility for damages caused by AI, or damages caused on robots, because robots are assets. From an accounting point of view, they are assets. They are put in the balance sheet. They are depreciated, and they're expensive. This room service robot costs around 20,000. Well, the core is is less than 15, but after that you have many other things that you need with for the software, for training the staff, etc., which will lead to about 20,000 euros. And the same goes with Pepper. Other robots are more expensive, but we also have cheaper, less than 5,000, but they are with more limited capabilities. Now, also, using robots can create a potential vendor lock-in effect. This is because of the high switching costs. Once you start using particular technology, it's difficult to switch to another supplier. Think about, I'll give you a simple example, a property management system in the hotel. All your data is in the PMS. You decide to switch, let's say, from Opera, the most widely used globally, to, let's say, Quok, a Bulgarian developed one, which is also, which probably 90% of Bulgarian hotels use. So you want to switch, okay, but your information is in Opera. What will happen if you switch from one system to another? Probably you will lose part of the information and part of the functionalities. That's why you prefer to stick to the older system, which you currently use, rather than switch to the new one, which is probably economically better for you. So one of the ways, and probably the best way to offset the high costs and the vendor lock-in effect, is lease, renting. So instead of buying the robot, leasing the robot. So here we talk about TaaS, technology as a service, robot as a service, kiosk as a service, software as a service. You pay monthly fees, and instead of paying 20,000, let's say at the beginning for the robot, and then let's say 1,000 or a few hundred euros per month for maintenance, insurance, and whatever, you just pay, let's say, every month. Oh, they are not expensive, something like 500-600 euros for room service delivery robot, something like more than 1,000 euros for a Pepper robot. But if the robot does not perform well, then you can always you can terminate the contract. So this is very, very important from an economic. From operations, recent technologies, they lead to decreased flexibility of the service delivery system. Human servers are always more flexible than robots, than mobile applications, etc. Privacy and security concerns. Now, a few years ago, I went to one restaurant in Dubai twice. I was there at the conference, and I visited all the places where they had robots. I searched them in advance. So, the first time I went to that restaurant, and I communicated with the robot. It made a photo of me, and it recorded it visualized on its display my name. I confirmed that this is my name. Of course, not Stanislav, it can't pronounce it. Stan, just for short. Said, okay. I pressed okay. 2 days later, I went there just to see whether the robot will recognize me. And it did. I made a video which started before going to the restaurant, and it finished after the robot recognized me. But now imagine that I go there the first time with my mistress. I don't have one. I hope my wife doesn't hear this. So I go there with my mistress. Then 2 days later, I go there with my wife. My wife doesn't know that I've been to that restaurant. She thinks we go there for the first time. And then the robot says, "Oh, hi Stan, nice to see you again. Oh, but I see that you are now with a different lady." So privacy concern. Do you know what will happen with the shape of my head? It will be half. It will be changed. So this is privacy. This is a lot of data that these technologies collect, and there are a lot of ethical and legal issues regarding privacy and how this data is used. And also these technologies, they will not be anytime soon completely independent of human supervision. From a marketing perspective, a company may suffer negative publicity because it may be perceived as a company that puts profits before humans. So we will have a negative repercussion. However, for the moment, every company that I have seen in Bulgaria that uses robots or some type of automation, this has been positively appreciated by the customers. But also, low willingness to pay for fully robotized travel and tourism hospitality services. Craig Webster and I, we implemented one global survey on robots in tourism. And last year, we published some of the findings in International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management. And what we found was this one. Respondents systematically want, regardless of the type of service, between 8 and 10% discount if they are to be served entirely by a robot, completely automated service, compared to a situation when they are entirely served by human employees. What does this mean for the economics of the company? If we use automation, we will save some costs, labor costs, or electricity costs, water, etc. However, we will probably also save some revenues because the customers may wish some of these cost savings to be transferred to them in the form of price discounts. So at the end of the day, it may turn out that everything we have saved as costs is transferred as discounts to the customers, and our profit remains the same. That's why it's very important to implement a good cost-benefit analysis for our company with our customers to see whether the use of these automation technologies would be good. Recent technologies, they may also be perceived as threat by human employees. Very important, because human employees at the end of the day are those people that will use the technology. You may have a fantastic room service delivery robot, but if your employees boycott the use of the robot, forget about it. It's just a piece of plastic and metal there, nothing else. And recent technologies, they will lead to disappearance of whole industries with significant business and social implications, definitely. And ultimately, robots and AI technologies, they do not spend salaries for consumption. Now, when we pay, as a joke, they don't go to spa center. So you can see a sexy photo of me in a spa center. So it is, what does this mean? When we use human employees, we pay salaries. These salaries, our employees spend for different items, for different things. So they generate demand. This is the so-called induced demand, induced effect of tourism services. But when we use kiosk, we don't pay salary. Probably we'll pay something for maintenance, insurance, etc. But it will be insignificant compared to the amount of money we pay for salaries. So what we do, we practically decrease the demand for other services and products, and indirectly also the demand for our services. So we have to always consider this one as well. So striking the right balance. The right balance of these technologies depends on the company's characteristics and culture. As I mentioned, a small hotel with 20 rooms, no need of room service. However, a large hotel with over 1,000 rooms in Las Vegas, no problem to have 20 robots for room service, for entertainment, etc. Relative labor and technology costs, relative labor and raise of productivity. I will pay special attention on this on the next slides. The level of complexity of these technologies, very complex technologies, forget about them in tourism. Customers' readiness and willingness to be served by robots. Yeah, if customers do not want to receive automated service, no need to do it. Cultural characteristics of both customers and service providers. What I can tell you is that East Asian countries, they are more open to automation technologies than Europeans and Americans. And the reason is quite obvious. In Japan, for example, automation technologies are often used to help employees. So there we have the enhancement. In the US, automation, so that in there, people look at technology as something that will help them. In the US, managers and owners use technology to replace labor and cut on costs, so that employees perceive technology as a threat. Europe, as I mentioned elsewhere on another conference, then Europe is quite obsessed with its own culture, and Europe considers that hospitality is people serve people. Ladies and gentlemen serve ladies and gentlemen. Ritz-Carlton. So what can we say? What can we say? That's why we have huge implementation of automation technologies in East Asia. No resistance from employees. Huge implementation of automation technologies in the US. Significant push by the managers and owners. They don't care about the opinion of employees. And while Europe is largely lagging behind. So as we see, also we are lagging behind also in military spending. And safety characteristics of these technologies, this also goes without saying, it's necessary. Striking the right balance. What I can tell you is that recent technologies the implementation of these technologies, they will ultimately lead to the division of tourism and hospitality companies into two large groups: high-tech and high-touch companies. High-tech companies, they will offer standardized, low-priced products, while high-touch companies, you will have high-priced, small-size, service-induced tourism services. And obviously, in 3-star Michelin restaurants, forget about automation technologies. Now, human employees and recent technologies, substitution versus enhancement. Don't worry, we have 300 slides. Just joking. What is the relationship between them? Substitution versus enhancement. You can see that cartoons on both sides of the Iron Curtain, Tom and Jerry to the west and Nupagadi to the left, both of them introduced these robots as concepts something like 60 years ago. But of course, when we talk about substitution and enhancement effects, we have to emphasize the fact that these technologies, they have both effects simultaneously. This is very, very important. And the balance between the two effects depends on automation of tasks versus automation of jobs, relative productivity of research and the service capacity of the company. Now, the automation of tasks versus automation of jobs, very important, because because what we do is we automate tasks, we don't automate jobs. And if in some jobs most of the tasks are automated, then the jobs go away. This is probably the most important paper in the field of robonomics by Frey and Osborne, which is, I cited, I checked a couple of days ago how many times was cited, nearly 10,000 times. Probably by the end of April, it will pass 10,000 citations. Published in 2017 in Technological Forecasting and Social Change. 47% of US jobs are susceptible to computerization. However, I personally do not trust their approach because it's questionable, because what they talk is about automation of jobs, not the automation of tasks. And if you see if you look at their methodology and their the level of automation they say automatability of the different jobs, you will see that many of the statements are extremely questionable because technology has just not that not reach the level. So each job is a set of tasks. And if some tasks are automated and the set of tasks a human employee needs to perform decreases, we talk about de-skilling of jobs. So a job position is eliminated if most of the tasks that constitute it are automated. So in that case, we have the substitution effect that prevails. If, however, some tasks are automated, but this allows the employees to be more productive and to upgrade their skills, we have upskilling of jobs and enhancement effect prevails. Well, then we can talk about we need to consider also the relative productivity of RACER technologies and human employees. If a revenue per dollar costs for RACER technologies is greater than the revenue per dollar labor costs, then RACER technologies are more productive. So you see, I put them in equations because I know that equations are easier to understand. So if this, in the case of the first ratio, RACER revenue divided by RACER costs is greater than labor revenue divided by labor costs, we use RACER technologies. In the other case, we use labor. If they are equal, it doesn't matter which one. However, we have one big problem. The first, it is relatively easy to measure the costs. We know the salary, social security payments, maintenance of the technologies, purchase cost of technology, etc., etc. These are quite distinct costs and they can be easily divided. But this is not the case with the revenues, because how do you divide the revenue? I ordered room service. However, it was a human that took the bottle and put it in the robot, but the robot delivered it. So how should we distribute the revenues to split them in order to see which is more effective, RACER technologies or humans? If you have a solution, tell me. I don't know. For several years, I'm thinking about. By the way, this is a good direction for research: how to split the revenues and the costs, and how to measure the productivity of RACER technologies and human inputs. Service capacity of the company is another factor. So if RACER technologies will decrease the overall average cost to serve one customer, and their enhanced effect will prevail when? Two options. First one, RACER technologies expand the service capacity, like online booking of tours or hotel accommodation via travel agency chatbots. So if I have a chatbot on our website or social media, and this chatbot increases the bookings without any additional human employees, no problem. So we practically increase the service capacity of our company. Or its utilization, like robot for room service delivery, because the orders for room service delivery will come only from the customers that are accommodated in the hotel. So here we talk about utilization of the capacity without the need to hire additional staff. Or second option, when the marginal revenue RACER generates outweigh the marginal costs of additional human employees. So we increase we have to hire additional employees. We pay them salaries, etc. But the revenues that these RACER technologies generate are much greater than these additional costs. Then again, it is worth using these technologies. And because there we have the enhancement effect. In the other case, substitution effect, when will it be stronger? The focus of RACER adoption would be to make the service process more efficient. For example, by use of self-checking kiosk instead of checking by a receptionist. When the service or a task has a fixed and well-utilized capacity that cannot be increased by RACER technology, like a hotel with a very high occupancy rate. So whether you have a chatbot or you do not have a chatbot, your hotel if it has 80% plus occupancy rate, it's not a big deal. So practically, the additional revenues that this will generate will not be so much. So here, the focus will be on substituting rather than enhancing. So the pathway towards increased profitability will be through decreasing labor costs rather than increasing the revenues. Or substitution effect will be stronger when the maximum demand is limited by the fixed capacity, like concierge services in a hotel, because they are kiosk robot chatbot will not attract additional demand. It's just the people who are accommodated there. What's the exact mechanism? So we saw what is the enhancement. We saw what is the substitution. We talked about the different effects. But what is in practice? How these things happen in practice? This is very important because many researchers and people from the practitioners, they say I can't use robots because they will eliminate some jobs and people will resist or something else. We need to see what is step-by-step approach. Now, let's say that we have one tourist company, let's say a hotel. For simplicity, it will have 3 processes, process 1, 2, and 3, and 3 job positions, job position 1, 2, and 3. Within these, they have different, each process consists of different tasks. On the rows, we see the tasks that constitute one process. On the columns, we see the tasks that constitute one job position. So here we see that job position 1 implements 4 tasks from process 1, 3 tasks from process 2, and 1 task from process 3. And the same for process 2 and for job position 2 and 3. However, when we introduce automation, what can happen? Different things. First, some of the tasks will be eliminated, the ones in gray. This means that they will not be they will not exist for the human employees. They will probably be implemented in the company, but they are completely automated. We will have some newly created tasks which didn't exist before that, and we will have other tasks that are not changed. However, some of what happens with the different processes and job positions? Process 1, all 5 tasks are automated, which means we have a completely automated process. It exists in the company, but it's not implemented by human employees. Process 2, it is partially automated because some of the tasks are eliminated, others remain, but we also have other tasks that are newly created. Process 3, nothing is changed, an automated process. And process 4 is newly created because we have some new tasks there. What happens with the job positions on the columns? The first one, initially we had 8 tasks, 6 are automated. Now it's not economically feasible to maintain this job position. So what we do is we replace it. We substitute it with technology, so it is eliminated completely. However, 2 of the tasks will be reallocated to job position 2. That job position is enriched with tasks from other job positions. 2 are eliminated, 2 are newly created, 2 are reallocated, so it is enriched. Job position 3, it is enhanced with newly created tasks because 1 is eliminated. However, we have newly created there, so the position remains. And job position 4, it is newly created. In our case, for simplicity, it includes only newly created tasks, but in practice, it may also include tasks which are reallocated from other job positions. What is the final? What is the final view for the different processes and job positions after automation? We have process 2, 3, and 4, job positions 2, 3, and 4. Process 1 is automated, job position 1 is eliminated. So what we can say is that recent technologies, they eliminate tasks for some jobs. They help reallocate tasks for other jobs, and they create new tasks for existing and new job positions. So for some jobs, the substitution effect predominates, while for others, the enhancement effect is stronger. Now, the mechanism, however, this is highly idealized. We need to consider three effects here. These are the limits of automation. For one is paradox, Moravec's paradox, and the ironies of automation. And all three of them, they put limitations on what is possible and limitations on the economic effects of automation technologies. For one is paradox. It was coined, the term was coined by David Autor based on Michael Koanis' observation that we know more than more than we can tell. This means tacit knowledge. We know how things happen. We know how to use Zoom. We know how to serve customers. We know how to prepare PowerPoint slides for lectures. We know how to do other things. But not everything is in a written form, in strict procedures. So what is written is codified. What is not written is tacit knowledge. What automation requires explicit knowledge that can be codified for algorithms to be developed and programmed. So if we do not understand a specific process entirely, if we do not know some things into the specific details so that an algorithm can be developed, then it will be difficult to automate. So this is Polanyi's paradox. In tourism and hospitality, not everything is codified. You know, hotel chains, restaurant chains, they have service operations manuals, which stipulate the different procedures. But even they provide quite a huge degree of freedom to react according to the circumstances. And how you do this is the tacit knowledge. And yeah, this is one big limitation. It is unlike manufacturing. Moravec's paradox. It is comparatively easy to make computers exhibit adult level of performance in solving problems on intelligent tests or playing checkers, and difficult or impossible to give them the skills of a 1-year-old when it comes to perception. What does this mean? It means that it is very easy to automate cognitive tasks, inputting documents in the property management system. Like you can have a card reader. You have your ID card or passport. You scan the code there, and the information goes into the PMS of the hotel, or with a swiper. You just swipe it, and the information is in the PMS. It takes something. It takes 1 second. But when we talk about legged robots for mobility, then it becomes a little bit more difficult. So this means that some of the tasks that will be automated will not be related only to flipping burgers. It means also document processing, writing emails, answering frequently asked questions as chatbots, etc. And finally, this is the ironies of automation. Automation may expand rather than eliminate the problems with the human operator due to two main reasons: designer's errors and human operators left with arbitrary collection of tasks, which the system designer could not automate. In human language, this means the following. We have one process that we want to automate. This process consists of, let's say, 10 tasks. However, we cannot automate all 10 tasks, but we automate 7 tasks. So what happens is that the human will need to perform 3 tasks. And these 3 tasks will probably be somewhere at the beginning, in the middle, in the end of the process. And they will not constitute one logical process by themselves, because many of the tasks in the whole process, of the consecutive stages of the process, they are implemented by automation technologies. So this means that the human operator will not see the whole process as his or her own process. And also designer's errors, whether you automate in one way, although it might have been better to automate it in another way. Yeah, you use a particular piece of technology rather than another. And finally, just 5 minutes for the future skills. very important because always students ask me, because I teach technologies in tourism and hospitality and robotics to different courses at my university. And they always ask, okay, when we have all these technologies, what should we do? Shall we be automated, etc.? And probably we should not study in tourism and hospitality. No, that's not the case. Practically, automation technologies, they will revive hospitality. These are the skills which the World Economic Forum says that will be in greatest demand in critical thinking, problem solving, self-management, working with people, technology use, physical abilities. This is from their survey, and which they make every year. And the top ones will be analytical thinking, active learning, complex problem solving, critical thinking. If you look at these 15, you see that only technology use, technology design and programming, troubleshooting and user experience, systems analysis and evaluation are somehow related to technical skills. Obviously, number 7 and 8 are directly related. 12, troubleshooting and user experience, not always related because it can be also managing complaints. System analysis and evaluation, number 14, does not always relate to the use of technology and analysis of technological processes. It can be a service delivery system analysis, how the company, this will be, let's say, analysis of the front of house and back of house processes in the company. And as you see, tourism employees will need to, tourism employees will need to focus on more soft skills or more cognitive skills, emotional intelligence, skills that would more difficult to automate. So RISA technologies, they would lead to the creation of new jobs and increased number of employees dealing with analytics, RISA mediated or enhanced user experience, robot maintenance, emotional labor. However, very important, there will be a significant decline in the number of available entry-level positions that could be automated. Receptionist, bellboy, housekeeper, waiter, cook, etc., etc. There will be fewer and fewer such job positions available, which means decreased work opportunities for people with lower education or students looking for part-time jobs. Now, on a different note, Europe has a very low level of very low degree of automation in tourism and hospitality. So all these refugees that are currently coming to Europe will probably be easily accommodated, will easily find work in tourism and hospitality. But that would not be the case in other countries where you have high level of degree of automation. So in the future, RISA technologies, they will decrease the demand for entry-level tourism and hospitality employees, will increase the demand for employees with high-level skills, making the fewer entry-level career opportunities for students, but making the entry into the industry without a degree more difficult, which means that students will need to study to have a bachelor or master's degree. However, what we need, many of the job positions would not require tourism and hospitality degree at all. But other fields like software engineering, robotics, data analytics, marketing, or robot repair. Our son worked in the summer in one hotel as a receptionist. There were only 2 people in the hotel that had tourism background. Everyone from the management team, it was only 1. So that everyone else had some other type, marketing or else. Tourism programs, they will need to focus on key skills to be on demand in the future, like technology use, monitoring and control, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, emotional intelligence, service orientation, etc. In our university in February 2020, we introduced technologies in travel tourism and technologies in tourism and hospitality as a module. We also introduced 4 or 5 years ago Robonomics as a module, which I think that students would need in order to be more competitive. And of course, the other modules, they focus on these skills, not in my modules. So technology is a tool, not a goal. This is what we need to remember. So investing in research technologies is not because Stan said it or because it's fashionable. It is a tool to achieve specific results, specific goals. So all these technologies, they're here to stay and we need to prepare for them. So thank you. Yeah, references, further reading, etc. Thank you so much.
Bravo, Stan. Many thanks for your presentation. More than 120 slides, more than an hour and a half of explanations and insights into RAISA technologies. Many thanks. It was very interesting. So we have already some questions in the chat box on Zoom.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I can read them for you because
I can read them. I can go one by one from
if you want.
Yeah.
But I think that you give some answers to these questions already in your presentation,
yeah.
but we can focus on them. So the first question is about the customer relationship and the authentic experience between in the service industry. So you talk about that, but the question is from Caroline, and she said maybe we can consider that some customer or visitors have a profile who appreciate artificial contact, and so other persons not. So what do you think? Is there segments of clients?
Yeah, definitely. You have more than 50 shades of gray. What I have found in my research that we have at least 3 groups of response. 3 groups. Of course, the 2 large groups are robophobes and robophiles. Those that robophiles like me that don't mind using technologies, and if there are no people in the hotel, they don't mind this, etc. But this is a small small group. We have the robophobes which resist automation, they don't like it, and we have somewhere in the middle we have others that are more neutral position. Now, I've made different studies in different countries, in Russia, in Iran, in Bulgaria, in also one global study with nearly 1,700 respondents from various countries. And these 2 groups, the 2 extremes, they always appear. The middle point does not always appear, but the 2 extremes, they always appear. And yeah, we can talk about authenticity. Yeah, you have people that look more for authentic experience, human delivered experience, and others who do not want, I wouldn't say who do not want, who do not mind the automated experience. And I posted one link because this I have the answer on this one, not written by me, but by one of my co-authors, Faruk Seitoğlu. It is published in the latest issue of Robonomics, and the article, it's free of charge, of course, automation versus authenticity in services. So if you want, just download it, and you can see that yes, automation technologies, they can harm authenticity. Definitely, that's for sure. But automation can also be used for back of house activities without the human interaction, without customer interaction. And they can help employees spend more time with the customers. So practically, these automation technologies will help restore authenticity in services by allowing the employees to spend more time with the customers while automation technologies work in the background. But of course, if you use automation technologies in the foreground, in the front of house activities, yeah, definitely authenticity is ruined.
Yes, thank you for this precision and for sharing with us this paper. And the second question is from Caroline, which is one of our PhD students. And our researches are about DMOs, destination management organizations. So the question is about DMOs and automation and RISA technologies. So what are your informations concerning future jobs or future strategies and practices for DMOs concerning RISA technologies?
This is a fantastic question. And by the way, I now start thinking in the background how this can be transformed into a journal article. So,
yes.
because I think this is worth investigating. Yeah. So, Caroline, if you want that we work together on this, I'm available.
Okay. Many thanks.
So, yeah,
she will keep in touch with you, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. So here probably we can, I'm just thinking about, we can probably split the question into two parts. First part, RISA technologies within the DMO and RISA technologies within the tourism sector in the destination. So if we talk about RISA technologies in the DMO, definitely here the skills will be the same that you need in the hotel or in the tour or in the tour operator. So because practically there's a huge overlap between the things that one tour operator and one DMO implements. So you still need to know how to use these technologies. Probably, however, because most of the DMOs are public-private partnerships, most of them, probably
yes.
some of the use of these technologies will be outsourced. There will be public tenders, etc., etc. So you may not need to know how to operate a robot or how to develop some code, some coding, etc. That goes beyond the needs. But you would need to know how to maintain a chatbot, because the chatbot of the destination will need to be maintained by the DMO. I showed you on one of the slides on chatbots, it was Plovdiv City Concierge. It is a chatbot of a destination of the second largest city in Bulgaria. But it was not developed and maintained by the local DMO, but by a marketing agency. And the agency said, okay, I will develop it. But if the DMO maintains this, you need these skills. This is the first part. The second part, regarding the RISA technologies in the tourism sector, probably the DMO will need to be able to coordinate some of the activities, and especially in terms of market positioning of the destination and of the companies. Because imagine a destination that is like, let's say, the Maldives, which is promoted as a high-touch destination.
Yes.
To start promoting some hotels to start promoting automated experiences, it doesn't fit.
No.
There's a contradiction between the two positioning strategies. Probably the DMO will need to deal with the coordination of this.
That means that we have to produce a specific framework for RISA technologies in the case of DMOs and destinations, perhaps.
Yes.
So for future researches, yes, a specific framework. Yes.
On destination level for DMOs, probably.
Yes.
For DMOs. That would be a fantastic piece of research.
Yes. And by talking about this framework, and this is a question from Odd, which is one of our students, master student. And Odd asked, what about the impact of the environment of RISA technologies regarding their components? For example, mineral extraction, batteries, materials, and recycling. So it's a large question also concerning the environmental topic, which is important nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Of course, here we talk about the physical eraser technologies, because for chatbot this does not exist as a question. Here we have two parts. One is these materials as supplies, but also as waste. As supplies, very important, especially now with in the last 11 days, what we see, and this will continue if other countries decide to do the same thing in Asia. And so we can, the prices of these technologies, they may increase because of the lack of such resources. But these technologies, we also need to think about recycling them, and yeah, recycling them, and how to this is the so-called digital waste. This is the digital waste, like computers and others pieces of equipment that is usually thrown somewhere in Africa or in Asia. But this is also
yeah, and it's also a corporate strategy. I mean, concerning the corporate societal responsibility. And
yeah, it's part of this. It's part of this. I'm starting. I'm thinking in Bulgaria, this is organized, well, not for RISA technologies, it's for all digital things.
Devices, yes.
Devices, yeah, for all digital devices, companies need to pay a fee for their recycling. Of course, it goes, so you need to put them in containers and in specific containers, so it goes into specific on its path. But yeah, this is also an important piece of direction for research. But when we consider all,
yes, concerning your researches or some papers, do you have some references concerning that that point?
That point, no, I don't have this one.
Okay.
But this is also something that directions for research.
Okay, for future researches. Okay.
Yeah, this this would be fantastic.
Okay.
I would welcome such paper in Robonomics journal.
Okay. And the second question from Odd is about the skills, because as she said, they will be new graduated by a master in a few months. So she asked what kind of skills should they acquire and put on the field.
Yeah,
so you gave some explanations, but
I gave some explanations. What I can emphasize is, please, you need, if you want to be competitive on the labor market, you need first problem-solving skills. So you need to be the solution, not the problem in the company. Second, you need to be flexible. This and to be constantly learning. So if you need to use new technology, learn how to use it. If you want to learn few words in a new language, because few expressions in a new language, learn how to speak this. So learning emotional intelligence is very important. Or strategic thinking. Strategic thinking also important, because many managers, it's very difficult for them to outgrow the silos in which they work. So let's say they work in the kitchen. After that, thinking about the restaurant, they need to manage the restaurant, but they still think in the framework of the kitchen, not in the framework of the restaurant as a whole. Or they become managers of the hotel, but still think in the terms of the F&B, not in the terms of the hotel. And also, so strategic thinking. This is very important. And also how to operationalize the strategic vision of the company into specific actions. So also very important, because otherwise all the aims, all the strategies, they just become, they just remain as wishes, nothing else. But flexibility and learning, very important.
Yes. Okay, many thanks for this these explanations. And we have after two other questions from Uyen, which is also one of our master students. But the questions are very large with a lot of informations. And perhaps we can focus first on the second one, which is about AE general and AE superintelligent. And you explained us these two fields at the beginning of your presentation. And Uyen asked for example. And she said, AE superintelligent, is it for the position of a manager with a wider application of how to administrate a company, for example? So can you give us some example concerning jobs?
Yeah, thank you. So I will start from the bottom up. So artificial superintelligence is artificial intelligence that is much smarter than a human in any field.
Okay.
This artificial intelligence will control humans. Humans will not control it. So that person will not, that AI will not work. So it's not there. Then about artificial general intelligence. Artificial general intelligence is human level intelligence. Yes, it will be position of a manager, that's for sure. But it does not mean that artificial narrow intelligence cannot be used for managerial positions, because many of the tasks, many of the things that people do can be automated. The question is, there are two limitations. One is the budget of the customer. Can companies afford? And second, this is the capabilities of the abilities of the software developers. So these are the two main limitations in terms of automatability of the jobs. So we can have a completely automated hotel, completely automated, with nearly everything can be automated. This would mean that cooking, serving guests, cleaning the rooms, everything. That means that we will redesign the whole processes, and we will redesign the building, so that currently the hotel is designed to serve humans. So you have human employees serving human guests. But if you want to have automated cleaning, this does not mean that the hotel room should look like this. What you can do, for example, is to have a room which is like a cube, which will be extremely easy to clean, and then for example, the bed can rise up from the floor, or come down from the wall, and so cleaning will be much easier. And probably this wall can be connected with the cleaning system of the hotel, so that the sheets are automatically removed and you have another ones that are put in. So you don't have a robotic roommate that will come in order to clean, but you have the whole, but the whole building is designed in a way to facilitate the process. So practically, we create new processes for the same task, for the same goal. So, and many of these things, they do not require artificial intelligence. So I cannot tell you for which position what type of AI you require. Definitely for artificial superintelligence, yeah, we'll be out of business.
Yes.
In that way, our evolution will stop. But with artificial general intelligence, think about data from Star Trek or from C-3PO from Star Wars, then yeah, you can have it. It will be very useful.
Okay, thank you. And perhaps the last question is about Uyen also. Is it better to apply AE to a single hotel, for example, a franchise one, or to use it for large corporation, for example, intercontinental chain group. So this is a question concerning the economy of scale. So you talk about that, but perhaps you have to give us some further explanations.
What I can, well, it all depends on what the application is. If we talk about, definitely if you have a corporation with many hotels, it's much cheaper per hotel. So it's better to have this one because you have a lot of data that could be analyzed. However, if we talk about pricing data, about prices, I see that this question starts about naming AI application for automated pricing decisions. I know such because I was practically involved in the development of one such application. If you have about for automated pricing decisions, it is better probably to be on for individual hotels rather than for a chain. However, for other things like let's say forecasting bookings, forecasting demand to a destination or else, it is much better to be on corporate level for large corporations rather than for individual hotels. And the reason is simple. The hotel. So let's say that the hotel here is in VARNA. We have in VARNA one hotel which belongs to the Golden Tulip hotel chain. This hotel here competes with other hotels within the destination. This hotel doesn't care about the prices of Golden Tulip hotels in Amsterdam. These prices, they are just not relevant. So if this hotel uses all the data that would be relevant for the pricing decisions of this hotel will come from this destination. However, if we talk about forecasting demand to the destination and let's say identifying patterns, the movement of tourist flows, then probably if we have it on a corporate level, it will be much better because for an individual hotel, it is not worth. It is the benefits of having this forecast is much smaller than the benefits for a corporation. So yeah, it all depends on what type of things of tasks this software will be used for. But this is also a good piece of research, like centralized versus decentralized AI decision making in corporations. We already have a title for the paper.
Yes. And we have a last question from Sylvain, which is in Perpignan. Okay.
Oh, hi, Sylvain.
Hi, Stan. How are you? Very well.
Wonderful.
I can see. Wonderful. Perfect. So yes, just a small question about. So what are you talking about is finally, for me, in my opinion, like a new form of substitution between your production factors. So it's like an Shaolin model. So one can imagine it in economics to study the comparative advantages of destination according to the endowments in factors of production, and notably by including the skills in robot and automation, etc. So I wanted to know what do you think about these topics? And second point, how do you think that the robots have to be remunerated? And do you think that we need a redistribution system for the labor factor, so for the humans?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so excellent questions. So the first one, the destinations that have different endowments of labor. of skills in terms of robots and automation, and whether such a destination is more competitive compared to other destinations in terms of automation, or what do you mean here? Comparative advantages of destination according to the endowment,
notably by the skills of the
employees.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I'm not quite sure that this will be a big factor, because definitely what you need is to have the robots. They need to be as simple to use as possible, because if they are more difficult to use, they will not be adopted by the tourist companies. So here well, the robotic skills and automation, they will create significant competitive advantages for countries which want to attract businesses that produce such robots and that develop such products, chatbots, etc., rather than for the destinations who want to use these products, or at least from my perspective.
So it's more for you a new kind of factor of capital factor.
It is a capital factor, but in terms of decision making, I would just send you one link to one paper here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, again from Robonomics. Yeah. Let me just open it here. Practically, this is the core of Robonomics as a theory, that we need 3 production factors, and it is capital, labor, and artificial autonomous agents. But artificial autonomous agents in terms of way of because of the decision-making process. From one side, they're human, they are assets. On the other side, they make decisions. They are assets as capital, but also they make decisions as labor. So we definitely need a new economic theory that combines the 3 things: labor, capital, and automation technologies, which economic theory is called Robonomics, by the way. So, and the link that I just sent mentions the main things of the Robonomics as a field.
Thank you, Stan. I downloaded just now the paper. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and we can work on this topic. It would be very, very, very nice to do it. Whether robots should be remunerated. How do you pay to your car? You don't pay money, you clean it, you hug it from time to time, you make selfies with it and post it on social media. You paint it when necessary, you maintain it when necessary. You don't pay salary. So I personally don't think that robots should be remunerated, at least for the moment. Probably if robots reach human level of intelligence, so it will be difficult to distinguish between a human and a robot in terms of intelligence, then probably it will be. In terms, it would be necessary, but I don't think this is necessary for the next 20 years. Should there be a redistribution system for humans? You mean redistribution in terms of incomes? Yes, definitely. This is the universal basic income. And it is also one of the fundamental pillars of robonomics as a field. It's a must. It's a must.
Thank you very much.
In the future, not now.
Okay, and we have the last question for Nicolas.
Yes, thank you, Stan, for your presentation. As you know, in Perpignan, our research team works on efficiency and productivity analysis with quantitative techniques and by following the remark by Sylvain, I think that future research should be about, for instance, the construction of good and true production technology to identify the inputs related to RESA. I don't know if in the literature there are some papers that use for efficiency purpose some inputs linked to RESA technologies. So perhaps you know it, but
there is only one that I know.
Okay.
And I'll send you the link. I think, well, I cited it in that paper, the last one that I sent. I will Decanu, this paper. I will send you this one.
Okay, thank you. And the question about the substitution or enhancement between robots and employees is very interesting, because if we use basic DA models, we assume the convexity assumption. So it means substitution. So if there is a kind of complementarities between the inputs, right, to humans and robots, we can move to alternative techniques. So it's it's very interesting for future research in applied efficiency and productivity analysis to the tourism sector, definitely.
If you want, we can collaborate in that field. It would be nice.
Yeah,
work
good.
together. This field is not developed yet.
Okay.
This field is not developed, and practically what we write, this is creating the fundamentals of economics.
Yeah. It's like the remark of Sylvain, when we compare tourism destinations or when we compare hotels, we can also test for the impact of RESA technologies on the efficiency.
For RESA technologies, yes.
Yeah.
For the RESA technologies, we can try to include them somehow, but not about the skills for them, because the skills for these technologies, they will be important for the companies that that develop these, not for the tourists. Tourists don't care whether people in the hotel know how to operate robots. They care whether the robot whether their room service is delivered or not. Whether it was by human or by a robot, not a big deal. That's why mostly, from my point of view, automation technologies is the implementation is supply side driven.
Thank you.
Okay.
Unlike mobile applications, by the way, unlike smartphones, because there you have a huge demand from the users, and because of this demand, you also have many applications for it.
So it's 4 o'clock in 1 minute. So it's time to end this webinar and to thank you, Stanislav, for this very interesting webinar with all your informations and all the papers you share with us. I can ask you just to stay with us a few minutes, but only with Nicolas, Sylvain, to talk about future researches. So I will ask to all the students and all the PhD students to leave us and to say thank you to Stan.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It was a great pleasure for me.
And I will stop.